Former President Donald Trump wants to reject modernity and return to a simpler time. Take a look.
Well, that's here to stay, according to the Commerce Secretary. How do we stop it? I mean, the Commerce Secretary says, well, the companies should take action.
Go back to a much more old-fashioned form of accounting and things. You know, I have a son who's so good with computers. He's a young person, and, I mean, he can make these things sing. And when you put everything on internet and on all of these machines, you never see a piece of paper. I really think you have to go back to a different form of accounting, a different form of compiling information, because anybody can break in. I mean, I see young people, they can't walk without computers, and what they can do with them is incredible. I'm witness to it because as a young person, my 15-year-old son is, you know, he's just a genius with this stuff. And you have people that are going to break into systems. I think you have to go back and you have to be much more reliant. There has to be much better security. And the kind of information they're getting is mind-boggling.
Okay. Reject modernity, return to monkey. That's basically not only Donald Trump, but of course, a lot of the Republican Party. Like, let's go back to let's not just go back to the 1870s. No, let's go back. Way back. Things were so much simpler then. All I had to do was just go club a woman in the head, and then I could have sex with them. And that, you know, it works out pretty well for me. Not so much for her, but I don't really care. We're Republicans. And so it's not surprising to see them want to return to that kind of thing. But mostly he's just saying, and I think this is connected to, obviously, the big lie, election stuff. So now, my commentary, let me start out by saying boomer conversation. Total boomer conversation. I don't understand computers. They're very complicated. The young people, they're very, very good at them. My son, 15 years old, tremendous genius at computers. He could probably open a PDF. That's considered genius level to someone like Trump. Let's just say that. And I'm avoiding like using the trope like, old people can't use. No, plenty of old people can use computers. And guess what? It's one of those things that if you actually try to learn about them, as a lot of older people have, you too can become a computer whiz and quote make them sing, right? Let's make them sing. Ridiculous, right? But again, when it comes to learning new things and amassing actual knowledge, and really that takes time to learn how to operate a computer correctly. Well, I mean, we know how Donald Trump really feels about, you know, investing time to learn things. Yeah, it's very difficult. But then again, so this entire thing, by the way, this entire segment, and the reason that he's talking about return to monkey is he was asked about cybersecurity by Stuart Varney. Why would you ask Donald Trump about cybersecurity? He knows absolutely nothing. Honestly, he is the last person that you should be asking about the cyber. And honestly, look, most politicians don't have any clue about cybersecurity. In another segment, I'm going to talk about how Mo Brooks tweeted out his own password. I mean, they're not sending their best. And to be fair, on the Democratic side, you have plenty of boomer moments too. For example, John Podesta. John Podesta fell for a phishing scam, and that's how they got the emails. That's how they get the Hillary emails. And so, however, Trump appears to surpass the idiocy because of the dumb things that he says. In fact, I've got a couple of the dumb things that he said back in 2016, and he said plenty of dumb stuff since. But here's a couple of the ones that really do stand out.
As far as the cyber, I agree to parts of what Secretary Clinton said. We should be better than anybody else, and perhaps we're not. I don't think anybody knows it was Russia that broke into the DNC. She's saying Russia, but maybe it was. I mean, it could be Russia, but it could also be China. It could also be lots of other people. It also could be somebody sitting on their bed that weighs 400 pounds, okay? You don't know who broke in to DNC. So we have to get very, very tough on cyber and cyber warfare. It is a huge problem. I have a son. He's 10 years old. He has computers. He is so good with these computers. It's unbelievable. The security aspect of cyber is very, very tough, and maybe it's hardly doable.
Cyber. It's what we're doing. We're doing things very poorly. Doing things very poorly when it comes to cyber and the cyber security. 400-pound Chinese hackers. They're great with the cyber, just like his son, who again knows how to open a PDF. Seems legit. But it gets dumber. Just days before the most recent election, Trump also decided that he would mock somebody. Now this is C-SPAN political editor Steve Scully, who had been suspended from his position for falsely claiming that a tweet that he sent was the work of a hacker. Now he said, quote, "Nobody gets hacked. To get hacked, you need somebody with 197 IQ, and he needs about 15% of your password." What? No, what? What are you talking about? Trump's statements, by the way, were followed by a report just days later that Trump himself, his Twitter account, had been hacked. Oops. Sad. Baby. No. Nobody knows that much about cyber as much as I do, but cyber is very, very difficult. Yeah, no kidding. Apparently, not a person who knows that much about cyber or cybersecurity or technology in general. So again, it makes sense to me that somebody would want to return to the quote unquote simpler times. But here's the thing: the simpler times didn't really exist. People actually ended up working harder. That's why we have computers now. That's why we have computers. In fact, you can't have the kind of, world that you have today without computers. And funny enough, he also, by the way, Trump loves technology. Or at least he did until he got kicked off all social media. No, look, here's the thing. When it comes to elections, though, he might actually have a bit of a point if he wanted to return to hand-counted paper ballots. I've long been an advocate of returning to hand-counted paper ballots, which, if done with a nonpartisan election official, that were in full view, of course, for accountability, would actually guarantee that people like, for example, Donald Trump would never be able to complain about the results of an election that he would legitimately lost, and would also guarantee that no other country or corporation could attempt to interfere with the votes. Now, of course, they say this, but they don't actually mean it when it comes to quote-unquote election security, because in reality, their type of election security is just to make sure that we can secure elections against black people voting. That's generally been the Republican security, okay? And again, I believe the right to vote is incredibly crucial. We do have to protect democracy from people like him and the MAGA rioters who literally believe in a conspiracy theory that isn't proven at all by facts. Other countries, as well as, Republicans, have shown that they're more than willing to try to cheat. Okay, to cheat in this election, especially Republicans. The majority of voter impersonation, the majority of voter fraud has actually been found to have been perpetrated by Republicans. As for businesses like pipelines, look, a lot of the hacking really comes from people who don't understand how to protect themselves online. For example, changing passwords, making sure your password isn't password. You would be surprised. Okay, you would be surprised. I know a lot of people working in IT. I'd actually also went to school for a while to become an IT, internet security professional. Okay, so I went through classes. I've seen examples of this. People do not know how to secure their computers, their phones, their machines. And so not only that, but people tend to fall for phishing scams. You got to try to avoid that stuff. You have to avoid sketchy websites. And yes, it helps to use things like firewalls, anti-malware, and antivirus suites, and all of that stuff. And by the way, hacking, it's funny because the popular like view of hacking, it's that it's like some person with like a power glove in the 1980s movies. They're moving through this weird cyberspace. You think, no, it's not. Okay, usually it's somebody who gets you to click on a link that downloads a program to your computer that will log your keystrokes, and then somehow they use that to, well, obviously, since they're logging your keys, they can extrapolate your password from your keys, okay? Or can view your screen remotely, all that sorts of stuff, okay? For example, the Colonial hack they were talking about is actually somebody who obtained a password and used that password. They obtained it from an employee, had stolen it, and was able to get access to the system, and then was able to cause damage. The best way to prevent these hacks is to teach people to be better aware of what they're doing online. And of course, not 100% foolproof, but most of the time, the problem exists between the keyboard and chair when it comes to cyber, when it's cybersecurity. And so it does happen. People like Trump, however, they not only haven't learned, but they're not interested in learning the realities of cyber, and therefore, ironically, make the most perfect targets for these kinds of attacks. And so it's not very complicated. At least it shouldn't be complicated. But again, we are dealing with a very stable genius after all. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.